I've been a real estate broker in London, Ontario for over 7 years. And the question I get more than almost any other, especially from first time buyers, is some sort of version of where should I actually be looking? Now, the real answer, the one I would give a friend over coffee. Because when it's your first home, the neighborhood matters just as much as the house. So today, I'll walk you through the areas I genuinely send first time buyers to, and I will be honest about the catch with each one because there's always a catch. I'm Paola Forero Alvarez, a real estate broker with 7 years of experience here in London, Ontario. I work with a lot of first-time buyers, and my approach is pretty simple. I rather teach you than sell you. And if you leave a little smarter and a little less nervous, then I've done my job. Quick note before we start, if by the end of this you're thinking about making a move, there's a link in the description to book a free 15-minute call with me. No pressure, no pitch, just honest, grounded advice for your situation. All right, let's talk neighborhoods. First, a little context, because numbers without context are just confusing. As of this spring, the benchmark price for a typical London home is sitting around $567,000. But you and I are not shopping for typical. Most first-time buyers I work with are landing between $400,000 and $550,000. That means townhomes, semis, and smaller detached homes. And in that range, where you look matters tremendously. The same budget can feel cramped in one pocket of the city and comfortable in another. So the goal is not the cheapest house. It's the neighborhood where your money buys the most life. First up, Summerside. That's in London's southeast end. If you want a newer build without paying a premium, this is usually my first stop for first-time buyers. It's a growing community with a mix of townhomes and single-family homes. It has strong school access, playgrounds, and quick access to the 401, which matters if you commute towards Toronto or St. Thomas. Newer construction means fewer surprises in your first few years. The roof, the windows, the furnace, they are all on your side for a while. And for a first-time buyer, fewer surprises is honestly underrated. Next, Carling Heights in the Northeast. This is the one I tell people to watch. It's an up-and-coming Northeast neighborhood, more affordable than a lot of the city, with an active community center and good access to parks. What I like about it for a first-time buyer is the trajectory. There is real development and investment happening in the Northeast, and Carling Heights is one of those pockets where you can still get in at a reasonable price before it fully catches up. You're not just buying a home, you're buying into a neighborhood that is going somewhere. Now, I can't promise you the future. I'm a broker, not a fortune teller, but trajectory matters, and this one is pointed up. Third, I'm grouping these because they share a personality, a vibe. There's Westminster Park, Pond Mills, and Glen Cairn, all in South London. These are the established neighborhoods. That means mature trees, settled streets. That's the kind of place where neighbors actually know each other. And it has good 401 access too. Homes here tend to be a little older, which often means more character and a bit more square footage for your money. The trade-off, and I'll always be honest with you about this here and in a showing, is that older homes come with older systems. It's not a surprise, and it's not a reason to run. It just means that we look closely and budget honestly. An old house isn't a bad house, it's a house with a history. Fourth, Oldies Village. If you want character, walkability, and a neighborhood with some real energy, this is one of the most interesting pockets in the city right now. It's revitalizing. You have craft breweries, independent shops, a growing food scene, and it's been drawing younger creative buyers for exactly this reason. Now, it's not for everyone, and that's completely fine, but if a brand new build in a brand new subdivision feels a little flat to you, a little boring, then Oldies Village is worth a look. And fifth, this one is technically just outside London, but I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't mention it, St. Thomas. It's about 30 minutes southeast, and it's quietly becoming a real option for affordability for first-time buyers. Average prices there have been running a little lower than London's, roughly the high 500s, and buyers are basically the same crowd as London's entry to mid-range. If your budget feels a little tight in London, then St. Thomas is often where it suddenly feels possible again. Now, two honest things before you start driving around with Realtor.ca open. First, London is not one market. It's really several markets that happen to share one city. Old South and Byron can behave completely differently from White Oaks or Summerside in the very same month. So a good deal in one pocket doesn't automatically mean it's a good deal in another. They each have their own comparables. And this is exactly the kind of thing I would bring to a showing that first-time buyers wouldn't necessarily think to ask about. Second, don't anchor to Toronto. A lot of buyers come from the GTA and assume that because homes are cheaper here, everything is a steal. London has its own logic, and the buyers who do best learn local micromarkets instead of comparing everything to where they came from. You'll notice I didn't send you straight to the most prestigious names: Masonville, Riverbend, the usual postcard neighborhoods. Don't get me wrong, they're wonderful. They're also usually a stretch above where a first-time budget sits comfortably. And here's my honest bias. I'd rather you buy into a neighborhood with room to grow than overextend into a prestigious one and feel house poor on day one. The right first home isn't the most impressive one. It's the one that still feels good when the market gets quiet. So a quick recap if you are a first-time buyer in London, Ontario. Summerside for newer and lower maintenance. Carling Heights for value and upside. Westminster, Pond Mills, and Glen Cairn for established and central. Old East Village for character, and St. Thomas if you want your budget to breathe. None of these is the right answer on its own. The right one depends on your commute, your budget, and honestly what you want a regular Tuesday to feel like. And that's genuinely my favorite conversation to have. So if you want help narrowing it down for your situation, the link to book a free 15-minute call is in the description. And if this was helpful, follow along. I make this for London buyers and sellers every week. I will see you in the next one.